Two nuclear powers, 1 billion people caught between them, and a single moment in history that changed everything. But what if it never happened? What if the partition of 1947 had gone differently? What if India and Pakistan had chosen cooperation over conflict? And what would South Asia look like today? Welcome to What If, Then Would. In August 1947, British India was divided into two nations, India and Pakistan. What followed was one of the largest mass migrations in human history. Over 14 million people displaced, nearly 1 million killed in the violence that erupted. And from that wound, four major wars were born: 1947, 1965, 1971, and the cargo conflict of 1999. Each one pushing both nations closer to the unthinkable. Two nuclear powers at the edge of catastrophe. Even today, tensions simmer. Operation Sindoor in 2025 reminded the world just how close the fuse still burns. But here's the question that changes everything. What if none of that had happened? Imagine it's 1947. Partition still happens, but instead of drawing hard borders with no plan, British leadership and Indian and Pakistani founders negotiate a confederacy, a union of states like the European Union, but born from the same ancient civilization. Shared currency, open borders, a joint military, two governments, one economic bloc. In this world, the Kashmir dispute never becomes a war. It becomes a negotiation table. The Indus Waters Treaty of 1960, which actually happened in our timeline, becomes the blueprint for cooperation rather than conflict. What happens next is extraordinary. By the 1970s, a unified South Asian economic zone is the fastest growing region on the planet. India's manufacturing and technology combines with Pakistan's agricultural output and strategic location between East and West. The subcontinent becomes the bridge between Asia, the Middle East, and Europe, not a battleground. By the 1990s, this South Asian confederacy has a GDP rivaling China. No nuclear arms race, no proxy wars in Kashmir. The billions spent on military spending over decades instead funnel into education, infrastructure, and technology. Here's the detail that hits hardest. By 2000, South Asia in this alternate timeline is not sending workers abroad. The world is coming to them. Silicon Valley doesn't just have South Asian talent. It has competition from a South Asian tech hub that never had to rebuild from war. But here's where it gets complicated. Without the India-Pakistan conflict as a Cold War proxy battleground, does the US pour as much money and weapons into the region? Probably not. Does Afghanistan suffer the same fate without Pakistani ISI involvement and American counter-involvement? Almost certainly not. The wars that shaped the 21st century may never have started. One decision in 1947, one agreement instead of a border drawn in blood, and the entire world looks different. History doesn't change in big moments. It changes in the decisions that come right before them. What if the right people had made the right choice? That's the question we live with. And that's why we ask, what if, then would? If this made you think, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe, because next week, we go even deeper.